The 49ers beat the Texans. They're 9-7, and it's all going to come down to week 18. I think that deep down, we all knew that this was going to be the case, right? We knew that this 2021 season, it's 2022 now, but 2021 was weird enough, and the season was going in such a way that there was going to be drama for the 49ers up until the very end of the regular season. Nothing has come easily for this team. Sunday was no exception, even though they played a much worse team in the Texans. It took the 49ers over a half to really put their mark on this football game and separate themselves from the Texans. But in the larger picture, 9-7 after 17 weeks is not enough to punch the 49ers postseason berth. It's going to take either a win over the Rams in week 18 or some help from the Falcons to beat the Saints for the 49ers to play further on beyond that LA game into January. But this was Trey Lance's home starting debut. And boy, I thought it was interesting. It was up and down, but it was down first and then up after that. An excellent second half for Trey Lance that should have the 49ers excited about their rookie quarterback's future. First point, those who said that Trey Lance couldn't develop at practice were wrong. We last saw Trey Lance in week 5 against Arizona, and Kyle Shanahan couldn't even trust him with an NFL game plan. He had to run a college offense for Trey Lance, who ran the ball 16 times, was hit on each of those plays, and took 8 extra hits in the pocket to be hit a grand total of 24 times, and he left the game hurt. The 49ers lost. Well, fast forward 3 months, and Trey Lance has gotten essentially only practice time for the scout team in those 3 months to Sunday against the Texans. And I thought that Trey, especially after he got settled in, starting really with that 2-minute drill at the end of the first half, looked like a totally different quarterback than he did back in week 5. So credit the fact that the 49ers have been getting solid developmental work in with Trey Lance during practice. The bottom line was that this was a promising yet imperfect performance from Trey Lance that highlighted his upside. And the upside, well, I think that was obvious, and we'll play the video right now here from the 49ers Twitter. The touchdown to Deebo Samuel. Let's have a look. Play action. Didn't go so well in the first half for Trey Lance on his interception, but he uncorks one, and Deebo Samuel scores. Now, here's what's impressive to me. Obviously, he turns his back to the defense, has to reacquire Deebo Samuel far downfield. The rollout, he has plenty of time. So, I mean, the scheme is sound. The protection is sound. Obviously, the 49ers are able to go to their primary option on this play. They want to hit this one deep. But look where Trey Lance puts this football. And this is intentional. Deebo Samuel was, he just comes into the screen right there. But you can tell from probably right this angle that he's breaking a little bit further toward the pylon. But Trey Lance's throw brings him a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. He's actually near the 10, and he has to come back to the 12 to catch this football. And that's intentional because the cornerback on this play is covering where, Samuel was breaking on a corner route. So the fact that Trey Lance put that downfield, 40 yards downfield, exactly where Deebo Samuel could catch the ball, the highlight play. But I thought in general, it was a highlight second half for Trey Lance. He was efficient. He corrected mistakes that obviously dogged the 49ers early on in the first half, and the 49ers were able to beat an inferior team. Now, I mean, nobody expected the Texans to win this game. The 49ers were heavy favorites for a reason. Would they have beaten the Texans by more had Jimmy Garoppolo been the quarterback? Maybe, probably, but who cares? They won this game 23-7. It might have taken them a little bit longer to put Houston away because of those first half mistakes. But all the 49ers needed to do was win and advance because they're fighting for something bigger right now, and that is a postseason berth. They're now 9-7. I'll dedicate a whole entire video after this to week 18, what it means for the 49ers, because they need to either beat the Rams or they need to hope that the Falcons beat the Saints so that they make the playoffs. So it's all on tenuous ground right now, but all you can do is defeat the opponent right in front of you. And that's what the 49ers did, even though Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't available in this game with Trey Lance as their quarterback. So that's, the overarching point to all of this discussion. The 49ers did what they should do to the Houston Texans, who are now a 4-12 team, and the 49ers are obviously a 9-7 team. A winning season, Kyle Shanahan's second in 5 years at the helm. You move forward and you see what happens next week. After the game, Shanahan said that if Jimmy Garoppolo is 100% healthy, he'll start against the Rams, and he might start even if he's not 100% healthy, and we know that he won't be because he has a torn ligament in his thumb. So this drama is going to continue into this pivotal week. But all that we know is that the long-term development of Trey Lance, we can say right now that it's on the right track, and that's because the 49ers have been doing good work behind the scenes with him. That was the talk this week, right? Players said that Lance was doing a better job hanging in the pocket. He wasn't bailing and running all the time, as we saw a lot against Arizona. And, as had been the fear since he was such a raw and inexperienced rookie coming out of North Dakota State. Well, today, after he settled in, and I thought it was that 2-minute drive at the end of the first half that really got Trey Lance on track. After he settled in, he was willing to hang in there. I mean, a really nice slant pattern to Brandon Ayuk that turned into a big gain after the catch, after Brandon Ayuk bounced off that defensive back. I thought that was good stuff from Trey Lance. Nice compact release on that play. It's not easy to fit those balls through small windows, through a lot of defenders over the middle of the field. Something that Jimmy Garoppolo probably doesn't get enough credit for, and something that Trey Lance is going to have to do well within the context of Kyle Shanahan's offense. Well, that was a bullet. That was a perfect slant. It set Ayuk up for yards after the catch, and it really helped the 49ers offense get going. Obviously, you had the big throw to Deebo Samuel. That one was much more open, but still required a level of nuance that I don't think Trey Lance was showing in week 5 against Arizona. So we haven't seen him in a game situation in those 11 weeks. That's 3 months of Trey Lance working behind the scenes, and it's very apparent that the 49ers did good work behind the scenes, that he is moving in the right direction. You take point A against Arizona, point B against the Texans, Trey Lance was a better quarterback today. Now, I'm not saying that it was all perfect, and that's why I put this up there. It was promising, yet imperfect. I thought early in this game, there were a few moments, especially after the first couple drives when Trey just got rocked trying to run the football. He found out that, contact against NFL players is a lot different than steamrolling over future accountants at North Dakota State. And when I saw him play against Arizona and run those 16 times, take those 24 hits back in October, I wasn't surprised that he got hurt in that game. Nobody wants him to get hurt, but you couldn't be surprised after that usage. And it looked to me like the 49ers were heading down the same path with Trey Lance early in this game when he got walloped those 2 times on the first 2 or 3 drives, because he also looked like he was not very confident in his pocket throwing ability. It didn't look like Shanahan was confident in that. And the whole 49ers offense just was at least 1 tick, probably 2 ticks off over almost the entire first half. But then they got into that 2-minute drive, and Trey got into the gun, and Trey unleashed that pass to Brandon Ayuk, and the 49ers moved down the field, and they set up the Robbie Gould field goal. And from that point on, he sure looked a whole lot more comfortable. Even if there were some hiccups in the second half, they couldn't get that 4th down conversion. It was the 49ers defense that really set the table for Trey to have that runway, right, to be able to evolve into a good performance. So I was able to write about that. Here's my article on The Athletic. The 49ers defense delivers its most smothering effort to support Trey Lance against Houston. Take a look at this. This is yards per play allowed by the 49ers defense, rankings of all games in the Kyle Shanahan era since 2017. So the best defensive performance for the 49ers under Shanahan came in 2019 against the Green Bay Packers, the one that I just highlighted here. That was in the regular season. They only allowed 2.8 yards per play, which is just ridiculously good. They also snuffed out the Rams that year, gave up 3.1 yards per play, also really good. And Washington last year, that was a loss, though. Nick Mullins turned the ball over a bunch of times, but it was a really good 49ers defensive performance against Washington. Well, there was another Washington game. That was the Mud Bowl, the slip and slide game in 2019, where the 49ers only allowed 3.8 yards per play. Look where this performance against the Texans ranks. 49ers allowed 3.6 yards per play. That's number 4 in the entire Shanahan era, behind only performances in 2019 and 2020, which were obviously better defenses than this 2021 defense. So to me, it seems that this 49ers defense delivered a stellar performance at exactly the time they needed to. Because remember, they were coming off a poor game against the Tennessee Titans in which they couldn't get off the field on 3rd and long, and they had to shield Trey Lance in this game. Trey Lance needed runway to get going. the 49ers couldn't do anything over their first, 4 drives in this game. Well, it's a good thing that the 49ers defense completely snuffed out the Texans for those 4 drives. And it wasn't until Lance threw the interception on the play action attempt that down that near sideline on a throw that he probably shouldn't have attempted. It wasn't until then that the 49ers defense turned around and let up a touchdown. But that ended up being Houston's only touchdown of the game from Davis Mills to Brandon Cooks. And from that point on, the 49ers defense snuffed them out. And this was huge in the game because it gave Trey Lance breathing room. If he struggles in the first half against a better opponent or with a worse 49ers defense, the result likely isn't the same. But because this game was only 7-0 while the 49ers offense was struggling, Trey Lance was able to turn it on, and the offense was able to turn it on in the second half. So that was huge for me. The 49ers pass rush is playing its most balanced ball of the season. We saw Tennessee max protect to take Nick Bosa out of the game, at least as far as sack chances went, right? And the 49ers did get some pressure from other guys, including Sansom Ebukam, but they didn't get enough from other guys, and they certainly didn't cover well enough on third down. I'll get to the coverage part later, but I thought the pass rush was strong across the board for the 49ers in this game. Bosa, again, didn't have a sack because the Texans were really focusing on him, but Ebukam had a sack. Arden Key had a sack, and he had a big pressure on the Marcel Harris interception right up the middle, rushing from the inside. The 49ers also got a sack from Jordan Willis in this game and one from Eric Armstead. So the pass rush is coming from all angles. That's something the 49ers are really going to need to see continue happen in Week 18 against the Rams, and potentially beyond that if they can punch their ticket to the playoffs. Meanwhile, on the second level, Fred Warner and Marcel Harris stepped up today. That's 15 tackles for Fred Warner and 10 for Marcel Harris, plus that interception. No Dre Greenlaw, no Aziz Al-Shire. So the 49ers are shorthanded in the linebacker room, but they got big performances out of their 2 best available guys today. And it's hard to overstate how important that was in conjunction with what's happening up front in that balanced pass rush. Because the secondary is still really questionable at the cornerback position, and it will be throughout the rest of this season for the 49ers, right? So if that's the case, the front 7 needs to show up, and they certainly showed up today. Speaking of that secondary, Josh Norman got benched. Gave up a big defensive pass interference there in the fourth quarter. 49ers called timeout, put Dante Johnson in. Dante Johnson then committed a DPI, but to Dante's credit, he earned the big pass breakup that essentially sealed the game later. But it leads me to ask, who starts at corner moving forward for the 49ers? Because Emmanuel Mosley might be back in Week 18. I think he's definitely one of your starters. But do you put Norman back in out there on the other side? Is it going to be Dante Johnson? Or do you put in Ambry Thomas, who I thought played his best game as a 49er, should have had an interception, was as aggressive as he's ever been, waited on the route, was in position, but just couldn't hold on to the ball. So you have a bunch of flawed options, but this is an evolving team. So we'll see what the 49ers do at cornerback, but rest assured they did a good job in the front 7 defensively, and that helped the defense deliver its most efficient performance of the season to support Trey Lance. So it all comes down to Week 18. And if you subscribe, I'm going to have another video that talks all about Week 18 for the 49ers. Long story short, they need to beat the Rams. They're underdogs right now, 5.5-point underdogs. Or the Saints need to lose to the Falcons. And the Saints are favored over the Falcons. So the 49ers likely will need to beat the Rams to make the postseason. Who the hell plays quarterback in Week 18? Well, Jimmy Garoppolo's 5-0 in his career against the Rams. The 49ers, formula to beat LA has been volume running with efficient passing, right? Efficient passing unlocks volume running. Kyle Shanahan is clear about this. If Garoppolo is able to pass efficiently, if his thumb is feeling okay, he feels that's the best chance. But I think the good news for the 49ers in this game against the Texans is that Trey Lance was able to deliver that same type of volume rushing plus efficient passing formula that can theoretically allow the 49ers to compete with the Rams. They've beaten the Rams before with that same formula. Heck, they even beat the Rams last year with Nick Mullins as their quarterback. So Trey today threw what? I have it right here. 23 times. It was 16 of 23 for 249 yards. Elijah Mitchell ran the ball 21 times. Lance ran the ball 8 times. Deebo Samuel 7 times and George Kittle once. That's a total of 37 rushes. So we talk about 40 rushes, rushing at volume. That's a sign that you've controlled the game. The 49ers did it today with those 37 rushes and 23 Lance passes that were efficient enough, especially in the second half, to allow the 49ers to administer their will on the ground. So I don't know who starts against the Rams. I don't know where Garoppolo's health is going to be, where not only where his health is going to be, but where his thumb is going to be and his ability to throw the ball is going to be. But 49ers fans can at least breathe a little bit easier knowing that Trey Lance was able to execute Kyle Shanahan's formula well enough today to beat the Houston Texans. Now, the Los Angeles Rams are a completely different story than the Houston Texans. They're coming off road wins over the Vikings and the Baltimore Ravens today, 20-19. It's going to be a whale of a challenge for the 49ers on the road at SoFi Stadium. But the 49ers insulated their quarterback room this year for a reason, right? Trey Lance is the future, but they kept Jimmy Garoppolo as a starter in 2021. Now it's 2022, and they developed Trey Lance throughout the course of this year for situations like this. If that one of those quarterbacks is compromised by injury, they have another guy that they hope can execute the system. I don't think that was the case in week 5 when Trey Lance had to run really his own offense. But the fact that he ran the 49ers Shanahan offense, right, with the running at volume, the play action, all this and all that, the fact that he successfully ran that offense against the Texans should give the 49ers hope no matter who has to start against the Rams next week. And that's all you can ask for at this point of a really, really wide season. So those are my main points from this game against the Texans. You don't want to make too much out of a loss against a bad team, but it was a very important win for the 49ers to have. And I'd be very, very happy to answer some of your guys' questions. Why don't we go through some of these? And please do put a question mark at the end of your question so I can tell that it's a question, because these comments flood in very, very quickly. And it's hard for me to tell who's arguing with other commenters and who's actually asking a question. So I don't think that the game times are 100% finalized yet, because 2 of these games are going to be flexed to Saturday. I don't know if the 49ers will be flexed to Saturday or if the Falcons Saints will be flexed to Saturday. But if the schedule holds as it currently is, the Saints will indeed play before the 49ers play the Rams. But I have the playoff picture here, and I should open this and put this one up for you guys so we could take a look at the seedings. Here it is. The 49ers will probably still have something to play for, and we can't really be 100% sure. And maybe I even write an article about this week. Here's the NFL's playoff picture. I just put it up next to me. Yeah, there you see it. So the Eagles have secured at least the number 7 spot. The 49ers can theoretically get the number 6 spot. If they win the game next week, in fact, they'll be guaranteed to the 6th spot. Now, if the Saints lose, you are suggesting that because of that, the 49ers will be guaranteed either 6 or 7. You're suggesting that the 49ers should just rest guys. There are a couple problems with that. One is that the 49ers are going to want to win to get the 6th seed, because you'd rather have the 6 than the 7. The 6 means that, well, unless you want to just play the Rams again, I guess. But the 6 would mean you play the 3 seed, and the 7 means you play the 2. So I guess it would depend on matchups. One other thing the 6 potentially gives you is a shot at another home game in the NFC playoffs. It's unlikely, but as the 7, there's no way you host anybody. As the 6, there's a chance that you do get a home game later on in the playoffs. But anyway, I think the 49ers would still play hard in such a situation because, A, you have to. You don't have enough bench players to play the whole second team. And B, you're in a spot where I do think that getting the higher seed could have some advantages, although we won't know until we're closer to the time of these seedings being finalized to knowing exactly who's going to be where. Because you could see a logjam here at the top. The Packers are likely on their way to the 1 seed at 13-3. The Rams, on their little winning roll right now, they're 12-4, but the Buccaneers are also 12-4, and the Cowboys, who lost to the Cardinals today, are 11-5. So there could be some jockeying still happening here based on the final results of the season. And I just think it's too early to definitively answer a question like that. The big thing is the 49ers have to find a way to get in. And right now that is either a Falcons win over the Saints or a 49ers win over the Los Angeles Rams. All right, more questions. Let's go. Let us go. So many of them today. This is also too early to answer. Is it going to be a pattern with Lance where he starts slow in the first half of all his games? That could get very frustrating. I mean, the guy's a rookie. He just made his second career start. He had 318 pass attempts at the FCS level in college. He missed almost all of the 2020 calendar season because of the COVID cancellation and movement of the season for North Dakota State. We can't expect Trey Lance to step in there and be playing Pro Bowl level ball from minute 1 to minute 60. I will say that there were some alarming facets of the first couple drives, such as Trey Lance getting drilled and the 49ers and him not looking particularly confident in a downfield passing game. So that was obviously on the table today. But to Trey's credit, to the 49ers' credit, he turned it around as this game went along. You know, Shanahan seemed, and the whole offense seemed flighty, and that obviously starts with the quarterback early in the game. Even the play action attempt, you know, that it looked like they were going to uncork a bigger play or at least a more aggressive throw, which they did and turned into an interception. You know, even that ended up being an egg, right? So it didn't look good for the 49ers, especially after the Texans took a 7-0 lead. But after that 2-minute drive to end the first half, Trey finally started to look comfortable in the pocket. He started to look like a functional NFL pocket quarterback to the point where he was only hit about 8 or 9 times total today, and that's including all of his running plays. That's down from 24 times in week 5 against the Arizona Cardinals. So the 49ers found a much more sustainable way for Trey Lance to operate today. And I do think that they're going to find that sustainable balance earlier in games, because this question right here from Bay Area Niners seems to be worried that this is going to be a trend. But 2 games for a rookie with so little experience, who's so raw, does not equal a trend. I mean, it might be an issue if Lance has to continue starting this year, because the Texans aren't good. 49ers are only going to face better defenses from here on out than the Houston Texans. But you have to remember that Lance's learning curve and his growth is theoretically going to happen fast for the 49ers, because he's so raw right now. And it's a good sign that he got from point A, Arizona game, to point B, the Houston game, that he improved this much. Again, by no means was it perfect, but it was a marked improvement, and Trey Lance is definitely headed in the right direction for the 49ers. Do I think that Lance needs to work on more loft on some of his passes? Well, Trey said that on his interception, he needed to add more loft, that it was a throw mechanics issue. I think that was a decision issue. I don't think that you go into that coverage. I think that the underneath defender was too close for comfort. It would have taken an absolutely perfect dime for that to be a completion for Trey Lance. But theoretically, maybe a little bit more loft there. But I think that one of his, redeeming qualities is his ability to throw lasers far downfield. I mean, that pass got to Deebo Samuel in a hurry on the touchdown. And in that way, Trey Lance was able to outthrow the Houston coverage. So the guy has a strong arm. I think that the release can be quicker. I think that we see a little bit of a loop in the release. But, I think there's been progress made in that regard. And I think that you don't want to downplay how strong his arm is, because it can fit the ball into some tight windows, including tight windows further down the field. And I think that was a highlight of Trey Lance's performance today. So yes, at some situations, you're always going to want more touch. On that interception, you wanted more touch. But I think the interception was one I personally think shouldn't have been thrown. I think Lance should have gone to a check down, should have gone elsewhere on that interception. If the 49ers missed the playoffs, which loss would stand out as the biggest missed opportunity to get in? There'd be a lot of them that stand out, because they've lost some tough games this year. The Green Bay loss when they had a lead with 37 seconds left, but the defense couldn't hold Aaron Rodgers. That one has followed the 49ers around all season and would continue to follow them around if they lost that game. Losing to Colt McCoy at home, despite having a decent performance from Jimmy Garoppolo. That was tough for the 49ers. Their defense just got run over in that game. That was really brutal. Both of the Seattle losses, absolute special teams failures in both of those games. And the second game featured 2 Garoppolo picks. That was tough. But boy, the special teams losing you 2 games against Seattle, that was rough. And then obviously the Tennessee game where Garoppolo did not play well. That's where he hurt the thumb. They almost bounced back and they almost won at the end, but they couldn't get it done. But that's a long list of games where if only one had gone the 49ers direction, which it didn't, they'd already have their playoff spot sewn up. But instead, they have to do it the hard way. They're going to have to try to win here in week 18. Why are the Eagles in over the 49ers when the 49ers beat them? That's a good question. The reason the Eagles are in over the 49ers is because of a potential 3-way tie between the Eagles, the 49ers, and the Saints. The Eagles are in, but look at this as 3 teams fighting for 2 spots, essentially, just to help you visualize this. The Eagles are 9-7, 49ers are 9-7, and the Saints are 8-8. That means there's a chance that the Saints beat the Falcons and the 49ers lose to the Rams, and the Eagles lose next week, that all 3 of these teams finish 9-8. In that case, the head-to-head of the 49ers and the Eagles goes out the window. It doesn't count because it's a 3-way tiebreaker and not a 2-way tiebreaker. We move to conference record in that case, and the Eagles and the Saints both have a better conference record than the 49ers. So that would eliminate the 49ers. It would mean the Eagles and the Saints make the cut and not the 49ers. So that's why the Eagles are in. They're either going to be in with the 49ers or they're going to be in with the Saints as the 6 and the 7 seeds respectively. The 49ers, they can only get in if it's them and the Eagles, right? So the Eagles have better 3-way tie-breaking capabilities due to their resume than the 49ers, which is why they're already in and why the 49ers remain in danger right now. This is a great point. Trey is 21 years old. 21-year-old playing against grown men at the NFL level for the first time. Again, this is my takeaway on the Trey Lance game today. Those who said he couldn't develop a practice were wrong, because he did develop a practice very clearly since week 5 against Arizona. And this was a promising yet imperfect Trey Lance performance that highlighted his upside. Anybody who's in the know on this, anybody who has intelligently studied the Trey Lance development and the expectations for him knows that he wasn't going to come in and be a world beater on day one. He wasn't going to come in and be a starter on day one. This is the National Football League. You don't walk in from North Dakota State after not having played for a year with 318 college passes at the FCS level under your belt and start for a contending NFL team. That's why the 49ers were going to keep Jimmy Garoppolo throughout all of this. I don't care if it surprised people because of faulty reporting and faulty Twitter takes coming from elsewhere. But the whole point was that Trey Lance was raw and wasn't going to be ready from day one to get the job done for the 49ers. That became increasingly clear when he struggled at Arizona in week 5. But the hope was that by the end of this 2021 season, after weeks of development on the scout team where he was emulating Russell Wilson one week and then Kirk Cousins the next week, after all that work, that Trey Lance would be in a position to where he could supplement the 49ers offense in case Garoppolo got hurt, and give them valuable 2021 snaps leading toward playoff contention. And that's exactly what happened. He delivered a promising performance against the Houston Texans that showed that he's on the right track toward unlocking a Shanahan offense that is a blend of pocket-style play-action precision and plus athleticism. We know Trey Lance has that plus athleticism, and he's now marrying it with the execution from the pocket in that play-action game. We saw that in the second half today. People should be excited because we didn't see that in week 5. We saw it today against the Texans. People should be excited because Trey Lance has taken that step and he's still only 21 years old. Remember, zoom out. The plan all along was for Lance to be the guy in 2022 at the soonest. Well, he gave the 49ers a good game as a backup in 2021, and we'll see what's next in his story. But I still think that today, and I don't even think this. Today was undeniably a good day for the 49ers on both the short-term and the long-term fronts. But they got to turn this page quick because week 18 is going to be massive. Will Emmanuel Mosley play against the Rams? 49ers definitely need him. Yeah, and I'm wondering who starts at cornerback against the Rams. If Mosley is healthy, and the 49ers hope that he will be, then what do you do at that other spot? They benched Josh Norman today. mean, here's a stat. The 49ers have 19 defensive pass interference penalties on the season. They've given up 360 total yards in defensive pass interference penalties. The second worst team in the league is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Those guys have given up 255 yards. So the 49ers have given up nearly 4 football fields worth of DPI yards and over 1 football field more than the second worst team. And they benched Josh Norman because they were so sick of it today after the pass interference penalty. And then Dante Johnson came in and committed a PI on his very first play. But then Dante, to his credit, had the pass break up on the game-sealing 4th and 2 later in the fourth quarter. So do you put Dante Johnson in opposite Emmanuel Mosley? Do you put Ambry Thomas in? Because today was Ambry Thomas's most assertive and best game. I mean, he jumped all over that out route early in the game, almost had himself a pick and dropped it. Or do the 49ers go back to Josh Norman since he's a veteran and supposedly has the best command of the techniques, but he's 34 and he gets roasted a lot? There are no perfect options. So I'm intrigued to see which one the 49ers go to, but having Emmanuel Mosley back, who is their best cornerback, would certainly be of great help. Now, I know that Jason Verrett's the best corner, but the best available one or potentially available one is Emmanuel Mosley. This is a good question. Is there any chance of a 2-quarterback system next week? In your opinion, is that the best strategy in a must-win game where you should leave all the chips on the table? I will say this. It's a good thing that the 49ers have the 2-quarterback system mechanics, such as managing the play clock and manages the substitutions in their back pocket. They worked on it in training camp. They worked on it in preseason. They dabbled in it during the regular season, but Shanahan ultimately abandoned it for a number of reasons, the biggest of which was that it threw him out of a play-calling rhythm. But since the 49ers do have that in their arsenal, and since we do know that Kyle Shanahan was very interested in implementing the benefits of such an attack during training camp, I mean, he was very open about this, it is at their disposal. And right now, with Jimmy Garoppolo not at 100%, and he won't be at 100% likely for the rest of this season, and with Trey Lance still so raw, there is a chance that we see both of these guys moving forward. And that might need to be the wild card that the 49ers use to beat some of these favorite opponents. The Rams are going to be home favorites against the 49ers. The 49ers won't be as healthy at the quarterback position as they were when they beat the Rams at home. So is it going to be Trey the whole way? Is there going to be a little bit of Jimmy? Maybe both. I don't know. But I do think that Shanahan is going to have something still up his sleeve, whether it be a couple trick plays, whether it be a surprise start. I don't know what it's going to be, but the 49ers are going to need to find some efficiency that hasn't quite been there on a consistent basis yet to beat some of these, I don't want to say murderers row, but to beat some of these formidable opponents in front of them, especially if they advance past the Rams into the postseason. Because the 49ers absolutely want to make the Super Bowl, but they're not quite as good as they were in 2019. That doesn't rule them out, but something may have to propel them there, and maybe it's a split dosage of Garoppolo and Lance. I don't know. Just throwing the idea out there, and I guess that Jacob threw it out there with his question. I thought that was a good one. All right. Let's see. More questions. I'm going to scroll further down. We are setting an all-time record for viewership right now, so make sure that you subscribe to both The Athletic and to this channel because I'm sure a lot of you are first-time watchers right now. We're over 500 on the live, which is crazy, which is good. So I'm going to have a ton of videos this week. It's crunch time in the 49ers season. We'll break down Trey Lance. We'll break down the 49ers. We'll evaluate Jimmy Garoppolo's chances of playing. We'll talk about the playoff picture. Subscribe to the channel. It's a fun place to be. I like to answer not everybody's questions, but I like to answer as many questions as possible. All right. I'll clarify this. You said Kyle said he will only let Jimmy start if he's 100% healthy. No, he did not say that. Kyle Shanahan said if Jimmy Garoppolo is 100% healthy, Jimmy Garoppolo will start for sure. But then he said that Jimmy Garoppolo does not need to be 100% healthy to start. Shanahan did not specify the percentage of efficiency and effectiveness and health that he would need to justify starting Jimmy Garoppolo, which means that a compromised Jimmy Garoppolo can potentially play if Shanahan believes that gives the 49ers their best option to win. But that leads me to believe that a compromised Jimmy Garoppolo might also be somebody that Kyle Shanahan thinks of pairing with some Trey Lance snaps. It's not crazy because the 49ers have already done it this season. And the situation is now different than when Garoppolo was fully healthy and playing well. He got hurt against the Titans. He's not going to be fully healthy anymore. Maybe he's still able to play with 100% efficiency, but he probably won't be able to, which to me would leave the door open to Trey Lance playing even if Jimmy Garoppolo returns. The bottom line right now that I should emphasize is that nobody outside the building, and maybe even nobody inside the building, knows for sure, because Garoppolo's finger and his thumb, which he's playing through this injury with, is what's going to be the determining factor. So it's going to be a fascinating week, and we'll find out a whole lot more on Wednesday. I think that Trey Lance looked uncomfortable in the first half, but he looked a whole lot more comfortable in the second half. Now, the Rams defense, let's keep in mind that the Texans are a bad team. The Rams are going to be a whole different story for the 49ers. This is going to be one of the best defenses in football. This is going to be SoFi Stadium. I'm sure 49ers fans will take the place over, as they always do when they play on the road against the Rams. But this is going to be a playoff game in all essence. The Rams are going to be playing hard. The 49ers are going to be playing hard. And it's not going to be easy against Aaron Donald, Von Miller and company, right? Jalen Ramsey on the outside. Trey might have looked more comfortable entering the second half today, but, just as is the case in all of these action hero movies, you start moving into more difficult territory. So if you want to compare it to a video game, you're facing one of the bosses next week. I mean, the boss is waiting for you down in Inglewood, and whether it be Trey Lance, whether it be Jimmy Garoppolo, or both, they're going to have to take down the boss, and it's going to take an entire complementary effort for the 49ers to do that. Do you think the 49ers still win today if not for that INT fumble by Marcel Harris goes Houston's way? I believe that was the turning point. That was a huge call in the 49ers' favor. Absolutely. So at that point, I think the 49ers are down 7-3. Houston has the ball around midfield. Arden Key gets the pressure working against right guard. So that's the first key of the play. A balanced pass rush is what made this happen. Arden Key had 1 sack through I think 7 weeks of the season, and he has 6 sacks since then. So Arden Key is 6x as productive as far as sacks go. This wasn't even a sack. This was a pressure. He might be 10x as productive as his early season self. Awesome play, awesome pressure, forces Davis Mills into an interception. The interception is by Marcel Harris, his first career pick. He tries to run with it. Ill-advised play, fumble, but, maybe it was karma helping the 49ers out after Navarro Bowman forced a fumble back in that NFC Championship game to end the 2011 season. That wasn't awarded to him because forward progress, which is not reviewable, was invoked against the New York Giants. Well, this time the forward progress rule helped the 49ers. The fumble supposedly happened after forward progress was stopped. So the 49ers got the ball. Very first play was a pass interference penalty downfield, DPI, and then the 49ers scored just a couple plays after that. They took a 10-7 lead, and they never looked back. That was obviously a huge sequence in this game. Yes, the 49ers got the benefit of that call on the fumble, but they also benefited themselves with the interception. And that interception started with Arden Key setting up Marcel Harris. This is a rush over coverage team, and the 49ers balanced pass rush delivered at just the biggest spot of this game. This is possible. Lance gets the start, but if he struggles, Jimmy just goes in as an emergency quarterback. If Garoppolo is injury compromised, you do that. I mean, this is going to be like Game 7 of the World Series. I'm assuming that the Saints are going to beat the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, the Saints are going to be playing for their playoff lives as well. They're favorite of the Falcons. If you're the 49ers, you have to assume that. So all hands should be on deck next week. We just don't know, and I don't think the 49ers will know for sure until Wednesday. All right, any more questions? I kind of want to wrap this video up. We're at 40 minutes. We're at record viewership. That's what's keeping me going here. But this is all good stuff. Wasn't this the first game where all the offensive weapons were available? Yeah, I guess because Elijah Mitchell, that's a good. Well, early in the season, they had all the offensive weapons available. Then guys started getting hurt. I mean, they'll never have Mostert this year. But Elijah Mitchell coming back was a big deal. He didn't have to be on a pitch count today. He was on a pitch count during the first Lance start in week 5. So Mitchell with 21 carries, part of that 37 rush effort. That was huge for the 49ers. We can watch a couple other highlights here, and then we'll call it a day because somebody asked a George Kittle question. This was fun right here. This was a good one. This is Lance out of the gun. I thought the gun got him back in rhythm at the end of the first half, but this was out of the gun and in the second half. And this is 3rd and 12. I mean, Kittle is so good. And the 49ers, they didn't feel the need to run any max protect here, which is great because I see Kittle in pass protection a lot, but George Kittle is a guy who can run routes. He's good at a lot of stuff, especially the run blocking, right? But I mean, he's fast and he's just so athletic. So fantastic play for George Kittle. That was one of the highlights of this game. Mitchell ripped off a big run right after that. This is the Debo run. I just kind of go through the 49ers Twitter because they're the first ones to post these videos. That's the Ebukam sack. Now this right here was the 49ers best pass rush of the game. About a balanced pass rush, right? That was 3rd down. So you look at this play, it looks like Bosa's off the field on this one. So the fact that the 49ers are able to get with the blitz, but the fact they're able to get pressure with Bosa taking a rest, that bodes very well for them moving forward. Jordan Willis was unblocked on this one. I mean, this is the benefit of playing the Houston Texans. Jordan Willis, he's a defensive end. I mean, this is literally a free rushing defensive end because the left tackle, 72, right here, decides too late that he's going to try to block the defensive end. I mean, that's just terrible football on the Texans' part. Looks like Kentavious Street might have held him back too. Look at that. Look at Kentavious Street grabbing 72. Heads up, that's a veteran play. That's a veteran play from Kentavious Street. Holding up. They probably should have been a penalty, but hey, 49ers got away with one. Jordan Willis got a sack. You know, between Willis and Ebukam, that's 7 sacks in 4 games between those two guys. In weeks 1 to 13, those two guys combined for 1 sack. So that's a balanced 49ers pass rush coming alive. That's the one number that probably should give people a lot of hope. Here's the interception. We'll watch Key's pressure, and then we'll call it a day. So Arden Key is right here. Watch the interior pressure. Right over right guard. Boom, right there. Mills has to throw as he gets hit. And because of that, Marcel Harris is going to step up as the hook defender and take the pick. And then Marcel Harris tries to do a little too much. Loses the football, but they say his forward progress was stopped. Penalty. No penalty on the play, but the ruling. So those are just some of the highlights. I don't want to play anymore right now. I could take a look at some of the other stuff later. But 49ers win this one by a final score of 23-7. They saw a promising yet imperfect Trey Lance performance. It highlighted his upside. They did what they should have done against the Texans behind a balanced pass rush, good linebacker play, and some interesting permutations in the secondary. We'll see what happens at cornerback. At the end of the day, they beat a bad team. Trey Lance showed development. That's all that matters, and it all comes down to week 18. All right, guys, thanks to everybody. Make sure you subscribe. Channel's looking great. We set record viewership today. More videos coming this week. Why doesn't everybody hop on board? And let's have some fun with this. Take care, everybody. I'll talk to you soon.